The San Diego night pulsed with a symphony of clanks and whistles. Belle's swan, grease smudged across her cheek, tightened the last bolt on her latest invention, a contraption of sprockets and cogs cobbled together from scavenged clockwork parts. It whirred to life, a spindly metal spider skittering across her cluttered workbench. It wasn't much, but to Belle, it was a testament to her determination, a defiance against the world that refused to take a young female inventor seriously. A sudden gust of wind rattled the dusty window panes. It carried with it a faint scent of ozone and something more ancient, like forgotten tombs and crumbling parchments. Belle, ever curious, abandoned her mechanical spider and crept towards the window. Below, the bustling gas lamp quarter shimmered with gaslight, its denizens a blur of hurried silhouettes against the smog-choked sky. Yet, Belle's attention snagged on what appeared to be a commotion near the docks. A group of cloaked figures, their faces obscured by shadows, seemed to be hauling a heavy crate onto a rumbling zeppelin. An unsettling feeling gnawed at Belle. Something about their urgency, about the way the crate bulged ominously, sparked a flicker of unease. But before she could investigate further, a gruff voice boomed from the doorway. "Miss Swan, tinkering with your infernal toys again, I presume?" Belle whirled around to find Professor Silas Finch, his bushy eyebrows furrowed beneath his perpetually dusty spectacles. Finch, a relic hunter with a passion for forgotten lore, was a frequent visitor to Belle's ramshackle workshop. He often brought her curious artifacts, hoping her engineering skills could unlock their secrets. "Professor," Belle greeted, a hint of excitement creeping into her voice. "Look what I just finished." Finch, however, seemed oblivious to the mechanical spider. He gestured towards the window. "Did you witness what transpired down by the docks?" Belle described the cloaked figures and the suspicious crate. Finch's usually stoic face contorted in worry. "Those weren't ordinary sailors, Miss Swan. Those were members of the Order of the Iron Sun, a sinister cult obsessed with forgotten magic." A thrill shot through Belle. Secret societies, lost magic. It sounded like something out of Professor Finch's dusty tomes. Lost magic? Right here in San Diego? Finch nodded grimly. "Indeed, and I fear they may have acquired something powerful." He fished a worn leather pouch from beneath his threadbare coat and produced a fragment of a stone tablet. Carved into its surface were strange symbols, unlike anything Belle had ever seen. "This," the professor declared, his voice thick with urgency, "may hold the key to stopping them." Belle took the stone fragment in her calloused hands, her heart racing as she traced the unfamiliar glyphs. "What is it?" "A piece of an ancient map, I suspect. A map to a chamber hidden beneath our very city." Finch leaned closer, his eyes alight with excitement. "And within that chamber, a creature of legend, a steam-powered sphinx rumored to harness the power of the ancients." Belle felt the weight of the stone's secrets, her curiosity piqued. What kind of power? "The kind that could either illuminate the darkest corners of our world or reduce it to ashes," Grimstone drawled, his granite form shifting into view. He hovered in the doorway, his eyes gleaming with mischief. The gargoyle's unexpected appearance didn't startle Belle anymore. Over the years, she'd grown accustomed to his random visits, always filled with cryptic warnings and sly grins. "What do you know about this, Grimstone?" He shrugged his stony shoulders. "More than you'd think. The Order of the Iron Sun has been searching for this sphinx for centuries. If they find it before we do, the consequences could be dire." With a shared nod, the unlikely trio, the inventor, the scholar, and the gargoyle, formed an alliance. Their mission was clear: uncover the secrets of the hidden chamber and protect the sphinx from falling into the wrong hands. The following days were a whirlwind of research and preparation. Finch pored over his collection of ancient texts, seeking references to the sphinx or the order. Belle tinkered with devices that could aid them in their quest, while Grimstone regaled them with tales of the city's mystical past. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with shades of amber and plum, they gathered around the workshop's crackling fireplace. Finch held up a page, his fingers stabbing at a set of symbols that matched the ones on the stone fragment. "Here it is, the incantation to activate the sphinx." Belle's eyes widened. "We can't let the order get to it first." "Agreed," Grimstone said, his usual sarcasm absent. We must move swiftly and with caution. They studied the map, the three of them tracing the path from the docks to the hidden chamber beneath the city. The route was treacherous, weaving through a labyrinth of sewers and forgotten tunnels. It would be no easy task, but the stakes were too high to fail. As the night deepened, they set off into the shadows, armed with nothing but their wits, Belle's gadgets, and the flicker of hope that they could outsmart the cultists. The air was thick with anticipation and the faint scent of danger. The cobblestone streets grew quieter, the only sounds the distant murmur of the sea and the rhythmic patter of their footsteps echoing through the narrow alleys. The city's grandeur gave way to the grime of the waterfront. The Zeppelin, their destination, loomed like a sleeping beast, tethered to the docks. Above, the stars were obscured by the ever-present shroud of smog, a stark reminder of the blend of magic and industry that powered their world. They approached the vessel, keeping to the shadows cast by the towering cranes and warehouses. The dockworkers had long since retired for the night, leaving the area eerily deserted. But as they grew closer, Belle's keen ears picked up the faintest of whispers, a chant in a language she couldn't recognize, resonating from within the Zeppelin's gondola. The Order of the Iron Sun was already on the move. Time was running out. Belle's heart hammered in her chest as they crept closer to the Zeppelin. The chant grew louder, an unsettling melody that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of the night. She gripped a small device she crafted, a handheld lamp that could be dimmed to a mere pinprick of light. Finch carried an assortment of tools and scrolls, while Grimstone's stone eyes gleamed in the dark, his wings folded tightly against his back. They slipped into the shadows of the Zeppelin's bulk, the canvas enveloping them like a shroud. The chant grew clearer, the words sharp and precise, cutting through the air with a malevolent intent that sent a shiver down Belle's spine. Finch whispered the incantation from his text, his voice low and urgent, as if trying to drown out the enemy's dark magic with knowledge from a purer source. Ensconced in the gondola, the trio found themselves in a chamber of brass and leather, the walls adorned with arcane symbols that seemed to pulse with an eerie light. At the center of the room, a massive crate lay open, revealing the gleaming form of the Sphinx within. It was a marvel of engineering, a creature of mythical beauty crafted from gleaming metal and intricate gears. The cultists had already begun the activation ritual, their hooded figures moving with a synchronized precision that spoke of countless rehearsals. The air grew thick with the scent of burning incense, mingling with the coppery tang of fear that filled the room. Belle knew they had to act fast. She nodded to Finch, who took a deep breath and began reciting the counter-incantation. The air grew taut as the power of the ancient words collided with the Order's dark magic. The Sphinx's eyes flickered open, a soft glow emanating from their depths. But the Order wasn't about to surrender their prize so easily. One of the cloaked figures, spotting them, stepped forward, a sneer playing across their face as they revealed themselves to be a high-ranking member. "You think you can stand against us?" he hissed, raising a hand that crackled with unseen energy. Belle didn't wait for a reply. She flicked a switch on her device, and a net of fine wires shot out, entangling the cultist. Finch took the opportunity to step closer to the Sphinx, his voice growing stronger with each syllable. The glyphs on the floor around the creature began to spin, a kaleidoscope of color and light, as the incantation reached its crescendo. The Sphinx stirred, its metal limbs groaning as it began to rise. Grimstone, with surprising speed, leaped from his perch and clamped his jaws around the leader's neck. The man's screams were cut off as the gargoyle's stone jaws tightened. The remaining cultists froze, their eyes wide with terror. The Sphinx roared to life, a sound that seemed to shake the very foundation of the Zeppelin. The air around it grew hot, the glow from its eyes burning brighter. Belle stepped forward, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "We mean you no harm," she called out. "We're here to protect you." The creature's gaze fell upon her, and she felt the weight of centuries in its stare. The air grew still, the chanting ceased. The Sphinx's eyes narrowed, considering her words. Then, with a suddenness that took her breath away, it nodded. The battle was won, but the war was just beginning. They had the Sphinx, but the Order of the Iron Sun remained a threat, their ultimate goal still a mystery. Yet, as Belle looked at the creature before her, she knew they had forged an alliance that transcended time and understanding. Together, They would navigate the treacherous waters of power and deception that lay ahead, a trio united by fate and a quest to safeguard the city of San Diego from the shadows of its own history. Belle felt a strange kinship with the Sphinx, a kindred spirit of sorts, both born from the union of metal and magic, misunderstood by a world that feared what it could not control. The Sphinx's activation was only the first step in a much larger puzzle. It spoke in a language that was a blend of hisses and whirs, and Finch, with his vast knowledge of ancient tongues, was able to communicate with it. The creature revealed that it had been dormant for millennia, waiting for the right souls to awaken it. It spoke of the Order of the Iron Sun's true intentions, to harness its power to remake the world in their twisted image. Their journey led them deeper into the bowels of the city, through tunnels and chambers that had not seen the light of day since the time of the ancients. The Sphinx guided them, its eyes casting a soft luminescence that pierced the darkness. Grimstone, ever the skeptic, provided a running commentary filled with quips and jibes that helped to ease the tension that hung heavy in the air. As they ventured forth, Belle couldn't help but marvel at the Sphinx's ingenuity. It was not just a creature of brute strength, but also a repository of knowledge, its very essence intertwined with the secrets of the lost civilization. It spoke of a time when magic and technology were one, a time when the city had been the gleaming jewel of a world that had since been lost to the ravages of greed and war. The path grew steeper, the air thicker with the scent of ancient enchantments. They approached a chamber, its walls etched with the same symbols that adorned the Sphinx. At the center stood a pedestal, upon which rested an orb, pulsating with a fiery glow. "The heart of the city," Grimstone murmured, his tone reverent. "It's said to contain the essence of the city's founder, a being of immense power and wisdom." Finch's eyes grew wide. The key to unlocking the Sphinx's full potential lies within that orb. Belle's heart raced as she approached the pedestal. This was it, the culmination of their quest. But as she reached out to claim the heart, a rumble echoed through the chamber, the ground shaking beneath their feet. The Order had found them. The chamber's walls trembled as the sound of booted footsteps grew louder, closing in fast. Finch grabbed the heart of the city, its fiery glow casting elongated shadows on the stone walls. "We must hurry," he urged, his voice strained with the effort of holding the pulsating orb. Belle's mind raced, searching for a way to protect the heart and escape the clutches of the Order. The Sphinx, sensing the urgency, stepped in front of them, its metal body blocking the entrance. With a deep, resonant voice, it spoke its first words to them. "Protect the heart. I will hold them off." Grimstone nodded gravely. "We won't let you fight alone." He transformed into a whirlwind of stone and shadow, darting towards the incoming threat. The Sphinx's eyes flashed with a fierce determination as it raised its gleaming claws. Belle and Finch fled deeper into the ancient tunnels, the heart's warmth pulsing against their palms. They could hear the clang of metal on stone and the roar of the Sphinx echoing through the corridors. It was a sound that filled them with hope and dread in equal measure. The tunnels grew narrower, the air thinner, as they ascended towards the surface. The heart grew heavier with each step, its energy pulsing through their veins. It was a power they hadn't anticipated, a burden that whispered of great responsibilities and untold secrets. As they emerged into the night, the gas lamp quarter lay before them, a sea of lights that seemed to stretch to infinity. The heart's glow grew more intense, drawing the Order's attention. They were out of time. Belle's eyes fell upon the Sphinx's map, the glowing lines leading to a hidden chamber at the city's heart. "We must go there," she said, panting. "The heart will be safest where it can't be found." Finch nodded, his eyes gleaming with understanding. "And perhaps we can find a way to counteract the Order's influence from within." They sprinted through the streets, dodging the towering brass automatons and the glow of gaslit lamps. The Order was close behind, their shadowy figures a stark contrast to the vibrant cityscape. San Diego's gleaming facade seemed almost oblivious to the ancient battle being waged beneath its streets. They reached the chamber, a nondescript door hidden in an alleyway. The heart grew almost unbearably warm as Finch worked his magic, the locks clicking open with a series of metallic clunks. They slipped inside, the heavy door slamming shut behind them with the finality of a tomb. The chamber was a sanctum of forgotten knowledge, its walls lined with ancient tomes and arcane devices. Belle's inventor's heart swelled with a mix of awe and terror. This was where they would make their stand, where they would unlock the secrets of the heart and, hopefully, the means to save their city from the Order's clutches. The heart thrummed in their grasp, and for a moment, Belle felt a surge of power that made her knees buckle. She looked at Finch, who was already poring over the texts scattered across a dusty table. "What do we do?" she asked, her voice trembling. The professor looked up, his eyes alight with a fierce determination. "We learn," he said. "We learn, and we prepare. For if we are to stand against the Order of the Iron Sun, we must become guardians of knowledge, as fierce as they are in their pursuit of power." And so, in the heart of the city they loved, with the fate of the world resting in their hands, Belle and Finch began their next challenge, to master the ancient magic that could either save or destroy everything they knew. The chamber was a treasure trove of forgotten lore, each artifact whispering secrets of a time when science and sorcery danced together in perfect harmony. The air grew thick with dust as they worked tirelessly, Belle's mechanical mind deciphering the intricate workings of the heart, and Finch's scholarly mind piecing together the scattered knowledge of the ancients. Grimstone, ever the sentinel, perched high above, his stony gaze alert for any sign of the Order's approach. Days turned into nights, and the heart's warmth grew, pulsing in time with their hearts. It was as if the very essence of the city was alive in their hands, urging them on. They discovered that the heart didn't just contain power, it contained wisdom, memories of the city's past, and a will that yearned for protection and guidance. The Order's pursuit grew relentless. Their whispers echoed through the streets, and their shadowy emissaries infiltrated every corner of San Diego. Yet, within the sanctum, the trio remained steadfast, their bond strengthened by the shared purpose of safeguarding the heart. Belle, her hands stained with ink and her eyes bleary from lack of sleep, stumbled upon a breakthrough. A set of ancient blueprints, drawn with a precision that defied belief, detailed the inner workings of the Sphinx and the heart's connection to it. "Professor," she murmured, her voice a mix of excitement and exhaustion, "I think I've found it." Finch looked up from his scrolls, his eyes hopeful. Together, they studied the plans, their eyes moving over the intricate schematics with a newfound urgency. The heart was the Sphinx's key, the catalyst to unlock its true power. The realization was both exhilarating and terrifying. If the Order gained control of the heart, the Sphinx would be unstoppable in their grasp. But if they could harness its power for good, the city could be reborn into a new era of enlightenment. With renewed vigor, they worked to understand the complex interplay of gears and glyphs. The heart pulsed in response to their touch, as if eager to share its secrets. Slowly, the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, revealing an intricate dance of magic and machinery that could reshape their world. The door to the chamber shuddered under the weight of a sudden assault. Grimstone's stone form grew taut, his eyes blazing with a fiery determination. "They're here," he growled, his voice a harbinger of the battle to come. Belle and Finch exchanged a look that spoke volumes. They had come so far, learned so much, but now the true test awaited them. They had to protect the heart, and with it, the future of San Diego. Finch rolled up his sleeves, revealing the tattoos of ancient symbols that snaked up his arms. He whispered a spell, and a barrier of light shimmered into existence around the chamber. "We'll hold them off as long as we can," he said, his eyes steely. Belle nodded, her grip tightening on the heart. "We're not going to let them win." The room vibrated with the force of the Order's magic, the air crackling with the scent of ozone. The Sphinx's roar reverberated through the city above, a defiant challenge to those who sought to control it. With the heart in her grasp, Belle felt a surge of power unlike anything she had ever experienced. It was the lifeblood of the city, the essence of a world that could be reborn. The heart whispered its secrets, and she knew what she had to do. Finch recited the incantation that would link the heart to the Sphinx, his voice a beacon in the chaos. The barrier flickered and held as the Order's spells hammered against it. And in that moment, as the world outside descended into madness, Belle made her choice. She would not just be an inventor. She would be a guardian of the old ways, a beacon of hope in a city balancing on the precipice of change. The heart grew warm, almost too warm to hold, as Belle focused her thoughts, willing the power to surge through her. Above them, the Sphinx's roars grew more frequent, punctuating the relentless barrage of the Order's spells. The ancient walls of the chamber groaned and cracked, threatening to crumble under the pressure. "Finch," Belle called out, her voice steady despite the tremors. "Now." The professor nodded, his eyes never leaving the flickering barrier. He uttered the final words of the incantation, and the heart leaped into the air, connecting with an invisible thread to the Sphinx's core. The barrier flared, a brilliant shield that threw the shadows of the attackers into stark relief. For a moment, everything was still. The heart hovered, pulsing with power, a bridge between the inventor's calloused hand and the gleaming metal claw of the Sphinx. Then, with a sound like 1,000 bells tolling in unison, the chamber was bathed in a brilliant light. The heart of the city and the Sphinx were one. The barrier shattered outwards, sending the Order's minions reeling. The Sphinx stood tall, its eyes ablaze with the light of the heart. The creature's body shimmered, and the air around it grew thick with the promise of untapped power. Belle and Finch shared a look of triumph, but it was short-lived. The leader of the Order, a figure of twisted steel and dark magic, emerged from the dust, his eyes burning with malice. "You think you've won?" he sneered. "You've only made things interesting." The Sphinx stepped forward, its massive paw slamming into the ground, sending a tremor through the chamber. "You shall not pass," it intoned, its mechanical voice resonating with the heart's power. The leader of the Order lifted his hand, and a beam of black energy shot towards the Sphinx. Belle's heart skipped a beat as the creature took the hit, its metal skin darkening and buckling. But the Sphinx did not fall. Instead, it drew from the heart, its form shifting and growing stronger. The beam of darkness faltered, and with a roar, the Sphinx sent a blast of pure light back at its attacker. The leader was thrown back, his armor cracking and smoking. The battle raged on, the Sphinx fighting with the ferocity of a creature born from the very soul of San Diego. Belle watched, her heart swelling with pride and fear. This was their creature now, their responsibility. They had to protect it, not just from the Order, but from the world that might not understand its true nature. The leader of the Order called forth his elite guards, their forms twisted by dark magic and brimming with malice. They closed in, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Belle knew that if they reached the heart, it would be all over. With a cry of defiance, she dashed forward, her own gadgets coming to life around her. Her mechanical spider shot forth, its legs elongating into whips that cracked through the air, fending off the attackers. Finch, his tattoos blazing with the light of the heart, conjured a storm of arcane bolts that streaked through the chamber, striking down the cultists. The leader watched from a safe distance, his smile cold and calculating. He knew the tide had turned, but he had one more trick up his sleeve. He spoke a single word, and the very air around them grew heavy with the weight of his power. The Sphinx stumbled, the heart's light dimming. "Belle," Finch shouted, "you must complete the bond." Belle knew what he meant. The heart had chosen her, and she had to embrace her role fully. With a deep breath, she reached out and touched the glowing orb, the power of the city surging through her veins. The Sphinx's eyes locked onto hers, and she felt a connection that transcended language, a bond of protection and trust. The heart's light grew brighter, pushing back the shadows. The leader of the Order took a step back, his smile faltering. "For San Diego," Belle whispered, and the Sphinx roared in response. The chamber was filled with a blinding light as the heart's power surged through her, into the Sphinx. The mechanical guardian's metal body shimmered, each gear and joint coming alive with an inner glow. The air grew hot, the very fabric of reality seeming to bend around them. The leader of the Order's smile vanished as the Sphinx's newfound power struck him like a physical blow. His elite guards stumbled back, their dark magic fizzling under the onslaught of pure, ancient energy. The leader of the Order bellowed, his eyes wide with fear and fury. Belle felt a part of herself merge with the Sphinx, a sense of unity that was both exhilarating and overwhelming. She could feel the city's lifeblood pulsing through her, the whispers of its past, the cries of its present, and the hopes of its future. It was a burden she had never imagined bearing, but one she knew she couldn't refuse. Finch, his eyes shining with the same light as the heart, chanted an incantation that seemed to weave the very air into a protective cocoon around them. The Order's leader screamed in frustration, his attacks futile against the shield of pure will and knowledge. The room grew brighter, the power of the heart and the Sphinx a beacon that pierced the gloom of the chamber. The leader of the order made one final, desperate attempt to break through, his form contorting and growing monstrous with dark energy. But the Sphinx was unyielding, its eyes burning with the light of the heart. With a swift movement, it swiped its paw, sending the leader flying backward. He slammed into the chamber wall, the stone cracking under the impact. The Order's minions, witnessing their leader's defeat, turned tail and fled, their shadows disappearing into the tunnels from which they had come. The chamber grew quiet, the only sound the steady beat of the Sphinx's mechanical heart. Belle pulled her hand away from the heart, the light receding. She felt drained yet alive in a way she had never felt before. The Sphinx looked at her, its gaze gentle despite its fierce exterior. It was a creature of protection, a symbol of the city's resilience. Finch approached, his tattoos dimming. "You've done it, Belle. You've become the guardian the city needs." Belle nodded, her hand still trembling. "We must keep the heart safe, Professor." Grimstone descended from his perch, his stone form once again taking on a more relaxed posture. "And make sure that knowledge isn't forgotten again." They knew their work was just beginning. The Order of the Iron Sun was not defeated, merely driven back. The city of San Diego had survived this night, but the future was uncertain. The trio stood together, united by their discovery and the responsibility it entailed. As they stepped out of the chamber into the cool night air, the gas lamps of the Gaslamp Quarter flickered in greeting. The city lay before them, a tapestry of shadow and light, science and sorcery. They had much to learn, much to protect, but with the heart of the city beating in their custody, they had the power to ensure that the light never went out. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider subscribing to stay updated with our latest stories, give us a like if you want to see more, and drop a comment below to let us know your thoughts.